What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to scrape jobs from Upwork automatically by creating a simple workflow in N8N. Let's get started. In N8N, I've created a workflow that I've renamed to Upwork Jobs Scraper. And here, we're going to add a trigger. So I'll choose a manual trigger over here. Now, to scrape jobs from Upwork, I'm going to use a third-party tool. The third-party tool that I'm going to use is this tool called Apify. To get 30% off your first subscription to this tool, just use the link in the description to sign up and create your account. After creating your account, head over to Apify store. And here, we're going to search for the tool that we're going to use to scrape jobs from Upwork. So I'll search for Upwork Job Scraper. And then here, I'll click on search. Here, you can see we have almost 60 tools that we can use to scrape jobs from Upwork. Right here. I'm going to use the first one right here. So I'll open this tool on a new tab. And this is the tool that we're going to use to scrape jobs from Upwork. So all you have to do is add a search query over here or a raw URL from Upwork to scrape the jobs. Here, you can also choose to filter the jobs either by experience level, job type, fixed price range, hourly rate range, or the client history. You can also filter the jobs by location or when the job was posted. Now here, I'm going to clear all these filters right here in the job filters and choose to only add the search query right here, which our search query will be graphic designer. And then here, I'll click on start. And then here you can see we're going to run this tool for only 2 hours. So here I'll click on rent actor. And then now here I'll click on save and start to scrape our jobs using this tool in Apify. You can see the tool is getting our data. Let's give it a second for it to complete scraping our jobs for us. Now here, you can see our tool succeeded in scraping 10 jobs for us. Over here. Here we got the job ID, the job URL, title of the job, description, the budget, client location, if the payment is verified, when the job was posted, the actual date that the job was posted, and the type of job that we scraped right here. Here. Now, instead of having to manually scrape the jobs right here in Apify, we can create a simple workflow in N8N that scrapes the job for us and adds the jobs to a spreadsheet. To scrape the job right here in N8N, here, I'll search for Apify and click on Apify right here. Then here, you'll need to install the tool first if you haven't installed it yet. And then if you have installed it, click on Run on Actor Node right here. Here, you'll need to create your credential to connect your Apify account to N8N. To do that, just click on Connect to my account, and then on the new window that pops up, choose the account that you'd like to link to N8N, and your connection will be created. Since I had already done that, I'm going to close this right here. And here, I'm going to choose to run an actor, and I'll choose a recently used actor. I'm going to find the actor, which is this actor right here. And here, we're going to add our JSON. I'll click on expression, expand it right here to add our JSON. To get our JSON, I'll go back to our tool over here, and which says manual and JSON, click on JSON, and here, I'll copy this JSON right here. And then I'll come and paste it over here. For the payment verified, we can choose for it to be true. We don't want clients who haven't verified their payments. And then now here, I'll click on execute step to scrape the jobs for us. Right here in N8N. You can see we are scraping graphic designer jobs that have been posted in the past 24 hours. Here, you can see it's executing our node. Let's give it a second for it to complete scraping our jobs for us. Here, you can see our node was executed successfully, and the status was a success right here. And then here, we got our dataset ID over here. So I'll click on back to canvas, and then here, I'll search for Apify again, and click on Apify, and here, I'll click on the get dataset items node. And then here, we're going to map our dataset ID over here. So I'll map the dataset ID right here, and click on execute step to get our jobs. And here you can see we got a total of 8 jobs using our keyword that is scraped using our workflow right here. So here we're getting the title of the job, the description, the URL, budget, relative date, the date the job was posted, job type, experience level, the payment is verified, the client location, the higher rate percentage, client total spent, client rating, and if the client has hired before from Upwork. It's amazing. So the reason we're getting 8 instead of 10 is because here it shows that the payment verified should be true. That's why we're getting 8 jobs instead of 10. When I open this node right here, you can see we are manually adding our search query over here. We can also automate this part where we are going to add our search queries into a Google Sheet and come and map the search query right here instead of having to manually open this node and input our search query. So in Google Sheet, I've created a spreadsheet that I've renamed to Upwork Job Scraper. In this spreadsheet, I've created a sheet that I've renamed to search query, and here's where we're going to add our search query over here. Here we are adding graphic designer as our search query. So to get this sheet, here I'll unlink this, and then here I'll search for Google Sheets, then click on Google Sheets, and here I'll click on Get Roles in Sheet Node. Here you'll also need to create a credential to connect your Google Sheet account to N8N. Here, but to do that, click on Sign In with Google, and then on the new window that pops up, choose the account that you'd like to connect to N8N, and your connection will be created. Since I had already done that, I'm going to close this right here, and then here find our document, which is this document right here. Our sheet will be the search query sheet. Here, I'll click on Execute to get our search query, as you can see over here. Now here, I'll connect this node over here, and then I'll open this node. Now, instead of having to manually input our search query over here, we can map it over here, and then I'll click on Auto Align over here. Now here, we're going to test our workflow and see if we're going to scrape our jobs from Upwork and get our jobs using this node right here. So to do that, I'll click on Execute Workflow over here. Now here, you can see our workflow was executed successfully. Now open this node, you can see we got our search query right here. Then using this node right here, succeeded in scraping the jobs for us over here. And then we got our jobs over here using the get dataset items node over here. So our workflow works perfectly so far. So here, I'll rename this node to search query. And click on rename. And here, I'll rename this node to Upwork Job Scraper. Click on rename. And here, I'll rename this node to get Upwork Jobs. And then here, I'll click on rename. Now with our jobs right here, we can proceed to add the jobs to our spreadsheet. So in our spreadsheet, I've also created another sheet that I've renamed to Upwork Jobs. Here's where we're going to add our jobs that we scraped using our workflow. Here we're going to add the title of the job, the description, when the job was posted, the job type, experience level, budget, if the payment is verified, location, client rating, if the client has hired before from Upwork, client total spent, and the Upwork job URL. So to add our jobs to our spreadsheet over here, I'll go back to our workflow, and here I'll search for Google Sheets and click on Google Sheets. Then here I'll click on Append Row in Sheet Node. Here we're going to find our document. This is document, and the sheet this time around is going to be the Upwork jobs sheet. And then here we're going to map values to our columns in our spreadsheet with the data that we scrape using Apify. So for the title, I'll map the title over here, description, posted dates, job type, experience level, budget, if the payment is verified. Can also map the location, client rating, if the client has hired before, total spent, and lastly we're going to add our Upwork job URL right here. Now the cover letter, we're going to update this column later on after we've generated the cover letter, but for now I'll click on execute step to add our jobs to our spreadsheet. You can see our node was executed successfully. We successfully added our jobs to our spreadsheet. When I open our spreadsheet, you can see we successfully added our jobs right here. So we added the job title, description of the job. Over here you can see the comprehensive description for each of our jobs over here. We also added when the job was posted, job type, experience level, budget, payment verified, location, client rating, if the client has hired, the client total spent, and the Upwork job URL over here. In case you'd like to apply to the job here. So we scrape these jobs from Upwork and added the jobs to this spreadsheet using our workflow right here. So here I'll rename this to Upwork jobs. Then here I'll click on rename over here. In our spreadsheet, you can see we had another column right here for the cover letter URL. We can try generating a cover letter for jobs over here. To generate the cover letter, I'm going to use AI. So here we can choose to generate a cover letter for only 2 jobs instead of the 8 jobs. So here I'll choose to limit the output to only 2 over here, and then you can execute this node here. Now we can proceed to generate cover letters for 2 of our jobs that we scraped from Upwork using our workflow. So here I'm going to choose an AI tool to generate a cover letter for jobs. And then here I'll click on OpenAI, then click on message a model node right here. Here you'll need to create a credential to connect your OpenAI to N8N. To connect your OpenAI account to N8N. So from your OpenAI API, add your API key right here and click on save to create your credential. I had already done that. I'm going to close this right here. And then here I'm going to choose a model. You can choose any of these models right here, including the latest one that we're using currently, which is GPT-5. I'm going to save with GPT 4.1 over here. Then here I'm going to add the prompt for the system role and the user role over here. Now I've gone ahead and added the prompt for the system role and the user role over here. The prompt for the system role could be on the lines of you're an expert cover letter writer, and the prompt for the user role could be on the lines of your job is to take script Upwork job posting and candidate data, then create a personalized, professional, and client-focused cover letter for each role. Adding a little bit of context, the cover letter will be used in an automated workflow. Candidate data and job descriptions are dynamically described and passed into this prompt. Output must be clean, professional, and ready to send without manual editing. Then here we're adding some inputs where we're adding the candidate's background, where we can add our name, skills, education, and all the relevant background data over here. Here we're also adding the job data over here. We're adding the title of the job, type of the job, budget, description, experience level, and the location of the job right here. The output, we like to generate a fully tailored Upwork cover letter written in a client-focused and professional style. It must include the following sections. The first section is the opening hook, which will be 1 to 2 engaging sentences that show enthusiasm for this role. It should naturally mention the client's company or project name and key requirements. We're also going to include the relevant experience and value section, where this section will be a 2 to 3 short paragraphs connecting the job applicant's background directly to the job posting. This section will also highlight how his automation, project management, or web scraping skills solve the client's problem. So these are the skills that we added right here. This section will also use keywords from the job postings, and if requirements aren't an exact match, emphasize transferable skills. The other section will be the proof of results section, where this section will be 2 to 3 bullet points with measurable results from past work. Then the last section will be the closing and call to action section, whereby this section will be 1 to 2 sentences inviting the client to connect and discuss further. We'd also like to end with a polite and confident call to action. Here we're also outlining some rules that we like the AI to follow. We're telling the AI tailor the cover letter to one specific Upwork job at a time. The maximum length for each cover letter will be between 250 to 350 words. Prioritize clarity, professionalism, and alignment with the job description. Write in a plain text, no markdown unless specified, and keep the tone professional yet approachable, not overly formal. Now here, I'll click on execute step to generate our cover letter. You can see it's executing our node. Let's give it a second. Here, you can see our node was executed successfully. And now here, when I click on table, you can see the incredible cover letter that is generated for us over here. For each of our jobs over here, this is incredible. So here, I'll open this node and just to only limit these to 1 instead of 2. So I'll execute this node, and then when I open this node right here, I'll click on execute step again to generate a new cover letter for one of our jobs. Now here, you can see a new cover letter that we generated using our workflow. So I limited it to 1, so we can add only 1 job to a Google Docs, so we can preview the job. So to preview the job, we're going to add this cover letter to a Google Docs. So here, I'll wait a few seconds. For example, we can wait, let's say 3 seconds. Right here, to add the job to a Google Docs. Here, I'll rename this node to wait 3 seconds. And then here, I'll click on rename. Then I'll I'll execute this node over here. Our node was executed successfully. And now we can proceed to add our cover letter to a Google Docs. Here, I'll rename this to cover letter generator. And then I'll click on rename. And then now to add our cover letter to a Google Docs, I'll search for Google Docs right here. And then here, we're going to start by creating a document. Here, you'll need to create a credential by clicking on creating a credential. Then from your Google API, add your client ID and client secret over here. After creating your credential, here, we'll like to create our document. Here, I'll choose my drive. And then here, I'll choose a folder that I would like to store our document, which is this folder right here. And here, we're going to give a title to our document. So here, I'll add the job title over here. And then I'll click on execute step to create our document. You can see our document was created. And then here I'll rename this node to create a cover letter document. And then I'll click on rename. And then the next thing that we're going to do here is I'll search for Google Docs again. Click on it. And then we're going to update this document that we created right here with our cover letter. So I'll click on update a document node. Here, we're going to map the ID of the document that we just created. And then here, we're going to map it with the cover letter that we generated using this node right here. Then I'll click on execute step to add our cover letter to our document, which is amazing. Here, I'll rename this node to update a cover letter document. And then click on rename over here. Now, the next thing that we're going to do here is we can send ourselves the cover letter via email. So here, I'll search for Gmail. Click on Gmail. Then here, I'll click on send a message node. Here, you'll need to create a credential like we did with the nodes right here by clicking on sign in with Google. And then on the new window that pops up, choose the account that should like to connect to N8N. Then your credential will be created. Since I had already done that, I'm going to close this right here. Here, I'm going to add my email address since I'd like to send myself the cover letter. Then here, we're going to add the subject line and the email body. Email type will be text. The subject line of our email could be on the lines of new tailored cover letter for. Then here we're adding the title of the job. Then here I'll click on expression, expand it right here towards the body of our email. The body of our email could be on the lines of hi Dennis. Here's a personalized cover letter I generated for. And then here we're going to add the title of our job. View and download the cover letter here. And here we're mapping the ID of our document here, which is this ID over here. This version is tailored to the client's job posting, highlights your most relevant skills, and is ready to send without any edits. Whereas cover letter bot, I'll click on back. Then the last thing that we're going to do here is I'll click on the add option here and click on append N8N attribution and turn this to off. Then I'll click on execute step to send ourselves the cover letter. You can see our node was executed successfully. And here I'll rename this node to send the cover letter and click on rename. Now the last thing that we're going to do here is we're going to update this column with the URL of our cover letter. So to do that, here I'll search for Google Sheets and click on Google Sheets. And then here I'll click on update row in sheet. Here we're going to find our document, which is this document, and our sheet will be the Upwork job sheet. Here we're going to choose a column that we like to match and choose the title and add the title right here. So I'll map the title over here. And now here we're going to map the value to this column. So to get the URL of our cover letter, I'll go back to Gmail. Then here I'll copy this URL right here. So I'll expand this right here to copy this URL. So I'll copy it. Then I'll go back to our spreadsheet over here. And then here I'll click on expression right here and expand it to our link. And then here we're going to map the link with the right ID, which is this ID of this document right here. And then I'll click on back to canvas and click on execute step right here to update our row with our cover letter URL. As you can see over here, we added our cover letter URL over here. So now we can open this URL to preview the cover letter that we generated using our workflow over here. So here, I'll rename this node to update cover letter right here. Now, when I open our Google Docs, you can see the cover letter that we generated for this job right here. This is incredible. You can see the comprehensive cover letter that we generated right here. This is very short, direct to the point, and it contains all the various sections that we outlined in our OpenAI node in our workflow. as you can see here. This is amazing. So we generated this cover letter and added it to our spreadsheet using this workflow that we created here in N8N. So the last thing that we're going to do here is we're going to complete our workflow. We're searching for the do nothing node right here and adding it over here. You can also execute it to complete our workflow, as you can see over here. So our workflow works perfectly. So here we are getting a search query that we'll have added right here in this sheet, in our spreadsheet. Here, then using the search query to scrape jobs from Upwork using this node right here. Then here we're getting the jobs that we scraped and then adding the jobs to our spreadsheet. Spreadsheet right here where we're adding the title of the job, the description, when the job was posted, the job type, experience level, budget, payment verified, location, client rating, has hired a client total spend, and the Upwork job URL over here. Then here I'm choosing to limit the jobs to only one to generate the cover letter using this node. Then we're waiting a few seconds and then creating a cover letter document in Google Docs. Then we're updating the document with the cover letter that we generated using this node right here. Then we're sending the cover letter to ourselves via Gmail. And then we are updating the job that we scraped right here and generated the cover letter with the cover letter URL right here. Now we can try testing our workflow to see how it works. To test our workflow, I'll clear these jobs right here to add new jobs right here. And then for the search query, instead of graphic designer, I'm going to choose web developer as the search query. And then now in our workflow, I'll click on execute workflow to test it. Here, you can see that our workflow was executed successfully. So here, when I open this node, you can see we called our search query, which was web development over here. Then using the search query, we scraped web development jobs from Upwork. Then we got the jobs over here. We got a total of 3 jobs over here. Got a total of 3 jobs using the web development search query. Then we added the jobs to a spreadsheet and then limited the jobs to only one to generate the cover letter for the respective job. Then we waited a few seconds, then created a cover letter document in Google Docs. Then we updated the document with the cover letter that we generated using this node here. Then we sent the cover letter to ourselves via Gmail. And then we updated the job that we scraped from Upwork using Apify with its cover letter using this node here. Then we completed our workflow. I open our spreadsheet and click on the Upwork jobs sheet. Here, you can see the 3 jobs that we scraped using our workflow and added over here. So here you can see the title of the jobs, the descriptions of each of our job over here. Then we also added when the job was posted, job type, experience level, budget, payment verified, location, client rating, has hired, client total spent, and the Upwork job URL over here. We also added the cover letter URL for one of the jobs that we scraped from Upwork. So here, if I'll open this document in a new job to preview it. Here is a cover letter that we generated using our workflow here for this company over here. So the company, so here's the company, here's the description of the company. So we generated for them this incredible cover letter that is very short and direct to the point with a very clear call to action. When I open our inbox, you can see the email that we're sending ourselves over here with the cover letter attached to the email. So here's the subject line of the email, here's the body of our email with a link to the document attached to the email. So this is the link to this cover letter that we generated using our workflow. We scraped these jobs from Upwork using Apify, then generated this cover letter that we sent to ourselves via email, and updated the cover letter URL to the specific job that we created the cover letter. Yeah. using the simple workflow that we created right here in N8N. Now, if you'd like me to create this workflow for you, or a workflow similar to this one, just click the first link in the description to schedule a call with me. On the call, we'll discuss into details the workflow that you'd like me to create for you, and then I'll proceed to create the workflow for you. But if you enjoyed this video and you have a workflow or an AI agent in mind that you'd like me to create using N8N, just comment down below in the comment section. I read all the comments, and if I land on your comment and I find it intriguing, I'll come back on a future video showing you how to create the entire workflow or AI agent from scratch using N8N. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.